Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. It was a dream of a just and equitable society. While we remember his fight for civil rights, we often forget his dedication to economic justice. King understood that true equality went beyond the surface. He knew that true equality required economic empowerment for all. Today, decades after his passing, his dream remains unfinished. We still grapple with poverty, inequality, and systemic barriers. It's time to rededicate ourselves to King's vision and work towards a world where everyone has a fair shot at a dignified life. King's dream was not just about ending segregation. It was about dismantling the structures that kept people trapped in poverty. He envisioned a world where all people, regardless of race or background, had access to quality education, decent housing, and meaningful work. This vision of economic justice was central to his message of equality and human dignity. Today, as we face persistent economic disparities, we must remember and act upon King's call for a more just and equitable society. For King, civil rights and economic justice were inseparable. He saw them as two sides of the same coin. He recognized that racial discrimination was deeply intertwined with economic exploitation. Jim Crow laws not only denied Black Americans basic rights, but also trapped them in cycles of poverty. They faced discrimination in housing, education, and employment. This limited their opportunities and prevented them from achieving economic security. King understood that the fight for equality had to address these economic disparities. He believed that true freedom required not only equal rights, but also equal opportunities. This meant dismantling the systems that kept Black Americans and other marginalized groups economically disadvantaged. To achieve this, he advocated for policies that would promote economic justice, such as full employment, fair housing, and quality education for all. King's commitment to economic justice was evident in his support for the labor movement. He saw unions as a powerful tool for working people to fight for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. In 1968, he traveled to Memphis to support striking sanitation workers. These workers, mostly Black men, faced dangerous conditions and meager pay. King's presence in Memphis highlighted the plight of these workers and their struggle for economic justice. He saw their fight as part of a larger struggle for human rights and dignity. Tragically, King was assassinated in Memphis on April 4, 1968. His death was a devastating loss for the civil rights movement and the fight for economic equality. But his legacy continues to inspire us to fight for a more just and equitable world.